go straight across to our panel that's joining us live. Major Shashi Asthana, former additional DG Infantry, is joining us live. Also with us is Major G.G. Dwivedi, Global and Strategic Affairs expert. Also with us is Major P.K. Sehgal, Strategic Defense Analyst. Major Mohammed Ali Shah, Defense expert, also is joining the broadcast. Let me also, in fact, quickly now bring in Major Mohammed Ali Shah as well. Major Mohammed Ali Shah, your take on this latest round of violence and why it is not stemming, what is leading to this, these continuous rounds of violence which are just getting worse, because now lawmakers are not being spared from the heinous attacks, and nor is the security apparatus.
Right, Uday, it's an honor to be on the panel with the illustrious generals. And in fact, General Dwivedi was commanding the division when I was the ADC to the General Officer Commanding of the Corps. And thereafter, I got sidestepped to Assam Rifles over there. So that entire area, we have actually dealt with those people on ground over there. And I will tell you over there, the fact is, we had the Armed Forces Special Power Act at that time. So Army had a free hand, it could operate freely over there. But the Armed Forces Special Power Act was lifted a few months before, slightly prematurely, I would call it, because they miscalculated or whether they were under pressure, what it was, I don't know. I mean, it shouldn't have, firstly, I feel it shouldn't have been removed then at that time, because there's no harm. And secondly, well, when we are dealing with people in the northeast, in Manipur, the situation in Manipur, the time when General Dwivedi and we were there, I found it to be actually worse than the situation that in Jammu Kashmir, in fact. Jammu Kashmir made all the headlines, all the news, but the insurgency in Manipur was actually very difficult. We had underground factions like the UNLF, we had Nation Liberation Front, we had the PLA, we had the KYKL, the PPAC, the Pulse. There were a lot of other factions. There was many factions fighting over there. And many of these factions, incidentally and very interestingly, unki aapas mein nahi banti thi. Some of the factions, only friends were KYKL, PLA and UNLF. There was a talk between joining the faction. They should do a joint operation together at that time. That otherwise it was very, and so how we would operate is we would get information from one faction, if supposedly for the other faction, and we would operate. And now, as General Dwivedi said, right now the role of the army is, when they are officially formally, they haven't been called also, as aid to civil authority, like when they are riots, and the army is called in straight away. To actually, the army has to be called in as an aid to civil authority. So army, when it's called in, then they take over, and then the commander of the operation, the general officer commanding, he would have the authority to even declare a martial law over there if he finds things going really out of hand. But that would be very complicating matter. So, but first thing right now is to establish peace, and by dialogue, by firstly getting the people, the leaders together, not in Manipur, in Delhi, the Kuki leaders and the Maithi leaders, and then someone who understands the area very well, someone who is experienced, who knows the tribal affinity. It's very important to understand the tribal affinity. I'll give you a small example. Like there's a group called NSC and IM. Now, NSCN was one group. It's split in two factions, NSC and IM and NSC and K. Now, because of differences within the faction itself. For example, it's dominated by the Tangkul tribe from Ukhrul, mainly from Shangchak district. So now, when jab unki aapas mein nahi bani, like the Angamis and the Semas, they got together against the Tangkuls. And that is when the NSC and IM split into Khaflang faction and Isaac Moiwa faction. So one has to understand the tribal affinity, which tribe is close to which tribe. Only then one can function. So someone who knows the area well, who understands the tribal culture, who understands exactly the demography, geography, topography, the history of that place, who the tribals can relate to. In fact, just yesterday I was in conversation with one of the Manipuri Sikhs. In fact, he was born and brought up in Manipur. He speaks fluent Manipuri, Amrik Singh Pawasab. In fact, I think he is a very right person to actually, his services should be used to bridge the gap between the communities, that's the Maithi community and the Kuki tribe. Never earlier has such kind of clashes happened. Such clashes have happened earlier, ethnic clashes have happened earlier. But let me tell you, by nature, Manipuris are not like that. They are, when I say Manipuri, I include the Kuki tribe and the Maithi community as well in that, including the Nagas, the Tangkuls, the Baite, Paite, the Pangals, who are part of the Maithi community, and the Sanamais, who are also part of the Maithi community. I include everyone. So Manipuris by nature are actually very
peace loving, nothing. They are not violent by nature. They're very hospitable. They are very warm people. They're very simple people, very, very emotional people who, yes, I admit one thing, they would tend to, because they're so emotional and they're so nice and they're so simple and so warm-hearted, they would tend to get carried away very, very fast. And when they get carried away, when they get angry, I mean, God help anyone who comes in front of them. God help anyone. So they are the best of friends and the worst of enemies.